Okay, good evening, everybody. Today we will see some differences between some words that we use frequently. All right, and there is a reason after that. So here, as you see, I have phrase, clause, sentence. What's the difference between these three? All right, it's not your specialty, but it's something to know because, as I said, there is another reason behind that. So neither subject nor verb. So this is talking about the phrase doesn't have a subject or a verb. Okay, the second characteristic cannot form a predicate. Cannot form a predicate. It means a meaning, a message, a complete meaning of the sentence. So phrase normally it's a group of words put together, but with no subject, no verb. Okay, let's take the first example here. We have right before dinner. Right before dinner. So for us, there is no subject. ما كاينش لا sujet لا verb. Okay, it's good. So we call this a phrase. Second example. Waiting for the students to come. Waiting for the students to come. Here we don't have a subject, we don't have a verb. All right, أنا explain. أعطيت الألفاظ with these two structures of the verb. So those are not verb. أنا ما بغيتش واحد يقول لي راه عندنا waiting ولا عندنا to come. Waiting is a verb to come. So waiting is not a verb, it's a gerund. A verb is a verb when it's conjugated. To come is an infinitive. All right. Okay. Clause. This is, I want you to pay attention here because this is the reason I'm having these differences. So a clause has a subject and a predicate. Okay, so it's complete. It's complete. A subject and a meaning. It means it can act like a sentence. Here we will see a sentence, a subject and a predicate. So it can be a subject when it's, and we call it independent clause. Sometimes it cannot play or act like a sentence. It can't when it's dependent. Dependent when the meaning is not full. It doesn't have the full meaning. So that's why we call it subordinate. Subordinate. Here, I'll give the example. Then we will see the difference between a phrase and a clause. Here, when the thief got into the house. So we have the thief, subject, got is the verb. All right. So, but the meaning is not complete. We are still the predicate. We are still expecting something. We are still waiting for the end or the accomplishment of the meaning. When the thief got into the house, what happened? The dog barked at him. The dog barked at him. You see here we have a subject and a verb. Here we have a subject and a verb. But if it's dependent, that's why we call it subordinate, because the phrase or the clause is not complete. All right? Both phrase and clause, when they come together, give us a sentence. So a sentence is a subject and a predicate, but it's independent. It's complete. It's always complete. Here, if we omit the when, it becomes the the thief got into the house. So here it's a sentence because it's complete. But we added a relative pronoun. When the thief got into the house, it's not complete. So that's why we have to add. So here it's a clause. It's a clause, okay? هنا clause. علاش عندنا when the thief got into the house, when the thief got into the house, ما كاملاش. It's not complete. We are still waiting. مازال كنتسناو something to complete the meaning of the first part. So it's a clause because it has a subject and a verb. So we need another clause. So both together to complete the meaning to give us a sentence. So this part right here, the second part اللي كيكمل هو ال predicate, هو اللي كيكمل clause. Okay? So if it doesn't have a predicate, it cannot act like a sentence. Here, both of them. If we take the thief got into the house, the dog barked at him. To relate them together using the relative pronoun, when the thief got into the house, the dog barked at him. That gives us a sentence. I didn't put any example because we can take all these as example here. All right. So again, let's start with a phrase. We say a phrase is just a group of words together without a subject or a verb, because a phrase has neither subject nor verb, so it can't form a predicate. So we know this. And a clause are also a group of words, that have both subject and predicate. You see here, but it's different from a sentence. It's different from a sentence, and it's different from the phrase. A clause can sometimes act as a sentence. This type of clause is called an independent clause. This is what we mentioned here. We say independent clause. All right. Let's pause it. Welcome back. Remember that relative clause, that's what we need to use these relative pronouns. So relative pronouns are in relation with relative clause. So if we have two parts of a verb, we related to them together. So we relate most of the time the phrase with the sentence a phrase with the clause to give a sentence. All right, as I gave the example from before when we used when. So that's something else. So when, it means we need something to show the time. Where, we need another relative clause to show the place. What is for object or any other place. So we will see that all in detail. So we have who for a person when it's a subject. We have whom also for a person when it's a subject. We have which also for a thing, objects also for a person. We can use it for a person. We have whose, which is for a possession or possessive. All right, so we'll get all these together. So we have what, where, when, who. If you noticed here, we have those as relative pronouns. We used them before as a question word. We can add that also here, even it's not a question word. So, but still, it's a relative pronoun. That's what we are looking for now. So, okay, so I put as title is the relative pronouns. All right. So it's a relative pronoun are what, where, when, who, whom, which, whose, that, and we will give that in detail.